Praise Yah. Welcome. I say yes, that song says. That's by Sister Joyful Song. And we're looking forward to more music from her and her family when she's ready. So, welcome again to our wellness webinar. And someone pointed out I don't introduce myself when I do these things. I'm learning. So, shalom. My name is June. I'm your host on tonight, and I'm also the founder of Yahudah Living. And Yahudah Living is a community ministry platform where we're focused. It's faith-based in Abba Yah on wellness, connecting you with people and other resources. Because we just want to help people with information. We also share, in addition to resources, news, events, we have 24-hour scripture meditations and music on All Praises Radio, allpraisesradio.com, and all of that is to edify the body and to esteem Abba Yahuwah. And tonight, with these webinars, our goal is to equip and inspire you with practical wellness information that you can apply to your daily life to live more abundantly as Yahuwah wills. Praise Yah. And we have some upcoming topics, and I'm gonna Catrielle and I tonight are gonna take turns with these particular slides. So I'm gonna have her share some of the upcoming topics that we have planned for those who are interested.
Shalom, everyone. So some of our upcoming topics are maternal health, unassisted childbirth, and as in home births, doulas, midwives, breastfeeding, postpartum depression, and all of the like. We'll also be looking at survival skills, foraging food, canning, family training, and everything of that type of nature. Gardening, starting your garden, vertical gardening, and more. And of course, general wellness, looking at some proactive prevention and natural remedies, mental health topics, and things of that nature. And back to Sister June.
Thank you. And if anyone listening has an idea for a topic, reach out because we don't know, different people are experienced and knowledgeable, and we would like to, perhaps include you in sharing that with others. All right, so as usual, a few housekeeping tips or notes rather. We just want to make sure you're aware that this is being recorded and live streamed to YouTube for those of you who are in Zoom presently. And as you just heard, there's more upcoming topics, and this one will last around 2 hours with a live Q&A at the end. So if you please save your questions for that dedicated time, and you can engage with our panelists. And we've been putting resources at yahudahliving.com/wellness for these wellness webinars. And email is in the works to kind of shoot those things out through email as well. So it'll arrive conveniently in your inbox. And just a disclaimer, I was talking to someone in the walk who's a nurse. She works as a nurse, and she was reminding me how important these disclaimers are, that we always vet information that we hear from others first to make sure it's legitimate information we're hearing, even in this very webinar, and then also to make sure it's a good fit for you and your family. Every good idea is not necessarily a good idea for your family or you. So make sure you, use wisdom. And, none of us are doctors or medical professionals. We are simply sharing our experiences that we have found in Abba Yah's wonderful things that he makes. And I always like to include a scripture, and you'll hear scriptures throughout tonight with the different panelists. And this one comes from John 10:10. The thief, it says, does not come except to steal and to slaughter and to destroy. And this is Yahushua speaking. And he says, I have come that they, or us, might possess life and that they might possess it beyond measure, beyond measure. And I love the way that, the way this scripture words that. And I put hashtag abundant life because a lot of the other versions say abundant life. And I just put some quick notes that, this goes beyond, abundant life is going beyond just existing. And and it's not talking necessarily about physical prosperity, but having a fullness in Yah, shalom, joy, wholeness, regardless of circumstances. And wellness is part of that abundant life as we align ourselves with Yah and walk in his wholeness the way he intended, right? Our whole being, and making wiser choice and trusting what he's provided for our health, we can have life more abundantly. So I'm going to turn it back over to Sister Catriel at this time.
Thank you, Sister June. So tonight's agenda, we will be hearing about step-by-step microgreens demo. We will be seeing a raw veganism presentation. We will look at a watch party invite. We will have a live Q&A with our panelists, and then we will be closing. Saddle up. It's going to be a good one, guys. Back to Sister June. Actually, now that I think about it, let me tell you about our panelists. So our first panelist who's going to share with us about the microgreens is Brother Charles. Brother Charles learned to garden from his father, a farmer from the Philippines, while growing up in Virginia Beach, Virginia. This early experience sparked his passion for cultivating fresh, healthy food. Today, Charles lives in Hedgeville, West Virginia, with his wife of 20 years and their 4 children. In 2016, he began growing microgreens after hearing how a friend overcame breast cancer by eating only microgreens as part of her recovery. Inspired by her testimony, he researched and experimented with growing microgreens, making them a staple in his family's diet. Now, Charles enjoys year-round fresh greens, growing microgreens in the winter and maintaining a kitchen garden in the spring and summer. He shares his knowledge of gardening and microgreens at church and community events, encouraging others to grow their own food. Guided by the scriptures for I am Yahudah who heals you, found in Exodus 15:26, and John 10:10, I have come that they might possess life and that they might possess it beyond measure. Charles is dedicated to helping others discover the health benefits of fresh, living food and the joy of growing it themselves. Our next panelist is going to be Sister Brittany. And
but we're not going to introduce her until she's up.
Well, alrighty then. Well, let's hear from Brother Charles.
And we're going to say welcome back to Brother Charles because he was with us last time, but he didn't do the actual demo. So this time we get to see everything he presented. He's going to actually be showing it to us. So thank you so much for coming back, and we look forward to this demo.
Okay, great. Did I hear that we were going to have prayer first?
Oh, yes. I completely forgot. Thank you so much. Sister Deanna, would you mind opening us up? Thank you, Brother Charles.
Oh, praise Yah, absolutely. Well, Father Yah, we thank you for the opportunity to gather here together in this fashion as we desire to grow as a body and share knowledge and to better utilize the the very things that you have given us. You've called them good in your word, Father, and we're grateful for the brethren who said yes in accordance, to our Sister Joyful Song's song. They said yes tonight to share the knowledge that you've given them to share with all of us, and so we're so grateful for the platform that we have to get to do this. We're grateful that we can gather like this wherever we are in the midst of our busy time, to take time to gather and grow and share and just even get a little fellowship and some worship in, and share with one another. So we pray you go forth and with each of these panelists as they desire to share as you've gifted them the giftings and the knowledge with us, and to continue to grow each one of us, and that your glory shines brightly through. And we give you all praise and esteem, Father, in Yahushua HaMashiach's name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, so I guess, so do I have the floor now?
Yes, Brother Charles.
Okay, great. Okay, so before I get started, I actually wanted to make a correction to the bio. My wife kindly reminded me the last presentation about our friend. So in the bio, it said our friend had breast cancer and she only ate microgreens. The correction I wanted to make was that she ate a macrobiotic diet, which a macrobiotic diet, and maybe that's something that Sister Brittany is going to touch on later, is basically a whole food plant-based diet, which also includes microgreens and fresh fruits and vegetables. So I just wanted to make that correction. It wasn't just microgreens. She incorporated microgreens into that macrobiotic diet. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to jump right into the whole demonstration with growing the microgreens. And there, I mean, it's like, where do I even start? So I'm going to start from the beginning. Obviously, we need seeds, right? So I normally keep my seeds in a nice little container. This is just a few of the seeds I have. I also have stuff in cans, and then also stuff in like burlap bags. But try to keep your seeds in an easy to reach place. I like to keep my seeds in a cool, dry place. I normally keep mine in the basement because it stays a constant temperature of like 50 degrees downstairs, so it stays relatively cool and dry. So the seeds are safe. You don't want to store seeds in sunlight or in a hot or humid environment, because that can affect the quality of the seeds, and you may not have a good germination rate if you don't properly store your seeds. So today, I mean, we have a lot of different types of seeds, and today I'm gonna demonstrate Sango purple sprouting radish. Okay, and I got this from True Leaf Market. There are other seed companies I've used in the past, such as Mums. These guys, Mum Sprouting Seeds. They're out of Canada, and just wanted to say it, but this is True Leaf Market. True Leaf, I get they subcontract with other growers, and they package their seeds, and I'll try to get non-GMO organic seeds. Also, like when you're buying the seeds, keep in mind a lot of times these seed companies do have like a minimum free shipping, so it might be $45. I think at True Leaf is somewhere, I want to say $80 to $85 to get free shipping. Otherwise, you have to pay for the shipping, which can cost anywhere between $9 to $17. So keep that in mind when you're buying seeds. You can also get seeds on Amazon if you're a Prime member. I don't know about the quality of the seeds there, so make sure if you do go to Amazon to get your seeds, make sure you're looking at the reviews. Taking a look also at the return policy if they don't have a good germination rate and things like that. But if possible, I would try to stick with a company that strictly deals with seeds. And so, like I said, I'm gonna demonstrate using purple sprouting radish, which is one of the fastest growing microgreens out there. They can be ready within 7 days. That's little as 7 days if you do it right. 7 days. So again, that's a quick turnaround. And before we started the presentation, I was talking to Sister June and some others on the call. A radish is going to take like 3 months to grow. It's a pretty quick crop also, but this 7 days, so within the time you're waiting for one radish to grow, you can have multiple cycles or multiple weeks of fresh radish greens readily available to you. And that's why I like using these microgreens during the wintertime, because I'm not really growing much outside. I do have hoop houses, but it just got so cold. I'm in USDA hardiness zone 6A, and we were down to the single digits, and everything that was under that hoop house got frozen or were stunted in growth and not really growing. So microgreens is a good option for all year growing. Okay, so we got the seeds out the way. Next, we're going to need trays. Okay, so what are you going to actually grow the seeds in? Now, you can make it as simple as a clamshell to-go box from like Olive Garden, and you can cut the clamshell in half, and you can grow in that. It doesn't have to be you don't have to spend a ton of money on doing a setup, especially if you're just trying it out. But for me, I've been doing it for the last 10 years, so I do have a lot of different types of trays, and I'm going to show you the different types of trays, and I'm going to show you the tray I'm going to use tonight for the demonstration. So I'm going to be using what's called a 10 by 20, and it's a two tray system. What I'm using is a 2-tray system. You don't have to use 2 trays, but I'll show you why I do use it. So you have a 10 by 20 basically means it's 10 inches by 20 inches long. So this is a 10-20 tray with no holes in it. And then I have a 10-20 tray with holes in it. And if you remember in the Bible, before the flood, it never rained. So how was all the plants and the trees were watered? They were watered from the midst of the ground. So when I do these microgreens, once they sprout and they start producing leaves, I don't water from the top, because watering from the top, it just increases the possibility of mold if you don't have good ventilation, and it's not really good for the plant. So I would put the water on the tray that has no holes in it, and then I will sit this on top, and then the soil would soak up the water, and then the roots can get access to that water. So this is actually called a shallow tray, and this is about 1 inch. This is about 1 inch deep. And then they have other deeper trays, which are 2 inches deep. And again, it all depends on preference. When I first started doing this 10 years ago, they didn't have the shallow trays. So this is a 2-inch tray, deep tray. And if you compare, sorry, I got a lot of stuff here. Compare that with the 1-inch tray, obviously the depth is different. Now, the benefit of having a shallow tray is going to be you don't have to put as much soil in it. So that's the positive. There might be some applications where you might want a deeper tray, but I moved away from the deeper trays because I'm cheap and I don't like to spend as much money. And also so I don't have to buy as much soil to place in these trays. So 2 inches versus 1 inch. I go for the 1 inch. Also, with the deeper trays, I found when I was using the deeper trays, I wouldn't fill it up all the way. I would fill it up 1 inch, and then it would be harder for me to access. Like when it comes time to harvest, since there's 1 inch difference, I had to kind of go down and cut it at an angle, and it was just a little bit more difficult. It wasn't a real big deal. But it was enough for me to say, okay, I want the shallow trays for the benefit also of not using them as much soil. So you have a 10 by 20 full tray, and then you also have 10 by 10s, which I have in the deeper ones, where if you wanted to grow 2 different items, you can have sunflowers here and you can have peas here, and you can grow them separately and manage them separately. You can also do the same thing with a 10 by 20. You just grow your peas here and you grow your sunflowers here. You just have to make sure that whatever you're growing has the same growing conditions and they mature at around the same time, because you don't want to grow radish here, which takes 7 days, and then sunflowers, which can take upwards to 20 days. Then now you're trying to manage 2 different types of crops that have different requirements. because then when the radish starts to sprout and start producing their leaves, you're going to want to put them under the sun. But then the sunflowers are still probably just in the sprouting stage. So something to consider. A couple other trays I'm going to show you. This tray is just a hydroponic tray. The holes are a little bit bigger, so you have to be kind of careful of what type of seeds you use. But I think the smallest type of seeds that can take this type of tray would be a radish seed. And so I would put radish here, and this is all water based. And again, if you have any questions concerning water, let me know and we can discuss that during the Q&A. Another type of tray, and this is actually one that my wife really likes. This type of tray is stackable. I got rid of a lot of them. I gave them away, and so I just have this one stack. But this right here is actually daikon radish. So daikon radish is green. The radish that I'm going to grow is purple. It's an Asian variety called a Sanga purple radish. And this one is also is soilless. So this is all water. So you can see water does work. There's just certain things you have to consider, like making sure you're keeping the humidity within the tray so that the seeds don't dry out while they're sprouting. Let's see here. But yeah, you can see here, that's all it's all soil. Okay, so those are a couple different types of trays. Again, there's a bunch of trays out there. If you have any questions about trays or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me or just during the Q&A. We can talk about it about the Q&A. Okay, so we got our seeds. We got our trays. Now let's talk about soil. I would recommend buying soil or making your own if you're interested in making your own soil. I'll show you the two that I use. I get them at the local Lowe's store. So I have two types. I think the one I'm gonna end up using is gonna be this one. So this right here is just Miracle-Gro potting mix, and this will net you this will cost you about 60 cents a tray. I did the math on it. This is $14, but it will cost you about 60 cents a tray, and I believe you can get about 20 or 30 trays out of it. I can double check. I actually wrote it down. So that's one type of potting mix, or that's one type of soil you can use. Or you can use seed starting potting mix. Now I like this particularly because I can use this for microgreens. Plus, and I'm going to show you some other stuff later on, but I can also use this for seed starting. So we're getting into the springtime here in the next couple months, and I'm going to want to start, some tomato plants, watermelons, and stuff like that. And this type of soil is really good and it's particularly made for seeds because of the type of material that it's made out of. But you can use either or. When we get closer towards springtime, summertime, this is what I'll buy. So I can use it for microgreens if I wanted to grow microgreens, or I can also use it for it's like seed starting. Okay, so I'm not going to use this one, so I'm going to use the potting mix. And again, for this one, this will cost you about 94 cents a tray. And I think this bag costs about roughly $7 at Lowe's. Okay, so I'm going to use this. I'm gonna have to stand up okay, so I have the bag and I have myself a dedicated cup. I'm a numbers guy, so on the cup itself, I write down how many cups of soil it is. So this is 2.25 cups of soil per this blue cup that I use, and roughly it will take about 5 of these cups to fill this up. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And it can get kind of messy, but that's just the nature of the beast here. So I'm going to just start pouring it in here. So put it in the middle. I'll put it on the edges. So that's 3 cups. I'm gonna do one more, and I'm just gonna spread it out, and I'll see I'll add a fifth couple more. Okay, so I'll say that's 4 cups. I'll go ahead and get my hands dirty here. Oh yeah, and also you want to make sure that your hands are clean when you're handling the soil, because if your hands are dirty, you don't want to transfer any bacteria from your hands or dirt from germs from your hands into the soil, because the soil is going to get wet. You're going to put your food on it or your seeds in it, and you just don't want the possibility to contaminate your soil, because that happens. And that's why I recommend not using soil from outside, because if you use soil from outside, you don't know what kind of contaminants are out there, what kind of bacteria is out there, and then now what you're doing is you're starting your seeds. I'm gonna go ahead and put one more cup. I'm just gonna spread it out evenly, and you're gonna bring all those possible contaminants from the outside inside your home, and then your microgreens are gonna be exposed to it. And so yeah, you just wanna just be mindful of that. So if you do want to use soil from outside, I recommend you microwave the soil. So that is one way to go about it. If you want to minimize costs, you can microwave the soil to kill whatever bacteria is in there. So this is 5 cups. So I'm going to spread this out as much as I can. And then what I'm going to do is I have a piece of cardboard that I'm going to use to flatten everything out. And you want things flattened so that everything is even. You'll have an even germination rate. You'll have an even, like all the seeds will be on a level plane. Okay. Okay. So now where did I put? So this is what I use. Just a piece of cardboard. I make sure after I'm done using it, I kind of wipe off the dirt so it doesn't soak up any of the wetness of the dirt or anything like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pat this down. You can also make this out of wood too. If you have if you have some wood and you have a flat piece of, maybe not plywood, but like a untreated 2x4 or something like that you can use. Yeah, that'll be good too. It would be ideal just had one big piece and just kind of smash it down. But again, I'm cheap. Cardboard's cheap. And so it's easy for me to just use this instead. And it does the same job. Okay. So now I have flattened out I flattened this out, and I wanted to share something with you guys too. Let me go ahead and share this with you before I move on. So I talked about mediums. This is soil. I talked about this, which is soilless. This is all this hydro based. The mesh here is a little big, so it can only really support radish seeds and bigger, like wheat seeds, radish seeds, things like that. Now, there is something I got something else that I've tested out, and it works pretty good. And you can get this in silicone, or you can get this in steel wire mesh. I chose the silicone after just doing some research, and that would work better for me. So that you can order it just like this, and this will cost you about $5.50 per one. They come in packs of 10. You can buy them. In bigger packs, and they would be cheaper. But the 10-pack, these come to be roughly $5.50 each, and these will last you many years if you take good care of them. And I'll show you something that I grew on this that's growing pretty good. I'll show that to you later on. But this is something else I want to show you. On this, these holes are much smaller, so this can support things like broccoli seeds, and some of your smaller seeds like clover and alfalfa and things like that, because the seeds are the mesh is much smaller. Okay, so now you can see this is pretty flattened out. you don't have one side that's bigger than the other or anything like that. So that's actually pretty good. You notice that if you don't use like 100% peat moss or something like that, a lot of times the soil or the seeding, the seed, what am I trying to say here? The seed starting potting mix. I'm sorry, on these potting mix, they might come with like little pieces of bark or little pieces of sticks and stuff like that. Not a big deal, but I would go through them, and sometimes I'll just kind of make a pile and I'll just put these in my yard on my compost pile. It's not a big deal that they're there, but if they're like big pieces, I would take them out because then that takes up real estate on your 10 by 20 tray, and then nothing is going to grow there. So I would take those out. Okay, so now I got the soil. It's not moist at all. There's a couple ways to do this. So what you want to do is you want to moist this. Now, for larger seeds, I would soak them. So like peas, I would soak. Sunflowers, I would soak. Any of the legume families, so any of the beans, mung beans, stuff like that, I would soak those overnight. And if that's the case, if you soak those overnight, you can just do like a light layer to keep the soil moist, and then you can distribute your seeds on the tray, and then cover it lightly with some soil. But in this case, for the radish seeds, I'm not soaking the radish seeds. You don't have to soak like alfalfa, like the really smaller seeds. You don't have to soak those. So what I'm going to do is, there's two ways to soak this. Water bottles. So you can get a water bottle. You can spray it, mist it, but you would have to do a good amount in order to get that really wet. But what I normally do is, and I'm going to show you here in a second, if you have a sink with a faucet head that has the spray attachment, I would use that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to walk you guys over to my sink so I can get this thing soaked in. All right. So here's my tray. I'll put this here. I'll put my faucet head down. I'll put my faucet head down. I'm going to turn this on. I don't want to have a lot of pressure on it. Just enough to wet it. So I'm going to quickly go up and down the tray. You don't want to overwater it where it puddles. You just want the soil mix to just soak up enough so that if you would grab it and squeeze it, water wouldn't drip out. But it's enough to hold moisture in so that when you put the seeds on, once the seed makes contact with the soil, it's going to give it that environment that it needs, because it does need moisture in order for the seed to start to sprout. So I'm going to go ahead and just quickly do this. Just run this over. And this is actually I don't have a lot of pressure here, so I'm just kind of slowly going over this. And plus, I didn't soak my radish seeds overnight, so I don't mind that it's a little bit more wet. Make sure you're getting the edges. The edges dries off a lot faster than the center of the tray. Boom. And what I'll also do is I'll also pick it up and I'll feel the weight. I'll feel the weight of it, and that's important later on as you're monitoring your seeds. You want to know, okay, because once they start sprouting and you lift up the tray, you can feel the tray is very light, then it needs water. But if it feels kind of heavy, then you know it has enough moisture and water in it that you don't have to water your microgreens that particular day. Okay, so that's good. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you guys back over to the demonstration table. And then we're going to distribute some seeds. Okay, so I said we're going to do the Sanga purple radish. Okay, now the next thing is, the question is going to be, okay, how much seeds do I put on this thing? Well, there's a couple things you can do. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can go online and search 10 by 20 tray seed distribution for radish. And if you look online, it's going to tell you anywhere between 0.5 ounces to 1.2 ounces. Okay. And so you would have to weigh it out, or what you can do is you can actually distribute the seeds yourself. Maybe what you can do is you can grab like a tablespoon or like a fourth of a cup scoop and say, okay, because you want to be able to be consistent each time. So pick something that works for you. And so I'm going to show you what I do, and I can do it by weight, but I can also do it by, okay, so I know for radish seed, I can, a fourth of a cup would net me about 1.2 to 1.3 ounces of seeds, and that'll be perfectly fine. Now, and again, once you actually lay it out, as they start to grow, you may say, oh, that was too dense. I didn't like it. It didn't get enough airflow. So then next time, and you want to write it down on a journal, or write it down on a sheet of paper, or even write it down on the packet somewhere. So next time you do it, you can say, okay, last time 1.2 ounces was too much. Let's bump it down to 1 ounce. So a lot of it's going to be trial and error. You may want it more dense and it works perfectly fine, or you may make it too dense, and because of the environment that you're in, it wasn't the best. Maybe there was mold or something like that, and you needed less distribution or less density so that you have better airflow. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and weigh this one out. I use a food scale, so that's what I'm going to use. But then also, like I said, I'm going to do it through a fourth of a cup. And I'm going to show you on a food scale that it's going to get me about 1.2 ounces. All right. So I keep everything by the shelf next to me. So I'm going to set up my food scale to pounds and ounces. And I'll put that, and I'll zero it out. Okay. So right now, let's see here. Oh, no, I don't know if you guys can see that. Okay. I don't think you can. So right now it's saying is obviously 0. So this right here is a fourth of a cup. And I know about if I do a little less than a fourth of a cup, that will net me about 1.2 ounces. So I'm gonna, all right, so there you go. That's about a little less than a fourth of a cup. And I'm going to put this in the bowl to weigh it out. Okay, so that's actually about 1.1 ounce. And okay, I'm gonna stick with that. So I'm gonna stick with 1.1 ounce. So you can weigh it if you do have a food scale. I know some people do have food scales if they do a lot of baking and things like that. So you can leverage what you already have, use the food scale. But if not, just eyeball it. Take a like a tablespoon, a cup spoon of some sort, and just distribute it out. And just take a mental note and write it down. Say, okay, a fourth of a cup is perfectly fine. That covers my tray perfectly. Now, if I was using something different, like let's just say this hydro tray, I would actually put the seeds here, and I wouldn't cover it all the way because the seeds will expand. I would maybe cover it maybe 3/4 of the way, and then I would keep it in here, and I would actually soak the seeds from here. And then I'll soak it overnight. And then once I'm done, I'll pour the seeds back on the mesh, and then I'll just manage the microgreens from there. And in this case, I'm doing it dry, and I'm going to go ahead and distribute these seeds over this 10 by 20 tray. And it doesn't have to be very difficult. You just do it by hand. I let my daughter help me do this when she wants to help. So I'm gonna go ahead and move this over. And I feel like just 1.1 ounce may not be enough, but let's see. So here you go. It's not science. I normally like to start on the edges, just work my way across. And just remember your edges, you got to be careful of your edges because your edges will dry out faster than the interior part of the soil. So you want to keep an eye on that. I'm going to show you a tray that I did of peas that I didn't do a good job of maintaining proper moisture control. And so a lot of the seeds dried out. So I'm going to show that to you so you guys can learn from my mistakes. But a big part of making sure you have good, healthy microgreens is keeping the right humidity and the right moisture levels. Otherwise, if you don't do that, your seeds will dry out. And if you overseed them, what happens is the seeds get on top of each other, and the seeds that are touching the soil is going to be able to root, and the seeds that are on top, they're going to struggle and they're going to try to root. And sometimes they can't root, so then they're just organic matter that's the seeds die and they're just there. And so, yeah, you want to be careful of that because any organic matter that's in your tray has the possibility to get moldy if you don't have good ventilation, you don't have good sunlight or good light to kind of fight that stuff off. And actually, it looks like this 1.1 ounces is filling this up. Yeah, so actually, I may not even use this whole 1.1 ounce. I might just return the rest of this back into the bag here. And if my daughter was here, she would tell me I missed a spot somewhere, and then I would have to stick a couple in those places where I missed a spot. But this is good. This is good. Now, again, take a mental note. This is how my seed distribution looks like. And so like I did 1.1 ounces. If I weigh this again, let's see how much this is, 0.2. So actually I'm doing 0.8 ounces. And online it said anywhere between 0.5 to 1.2. So 1.2 is probably really dense, and in 0.5 is more sparse. So I'm somewhere in the middle. This is about 0.8 ounces worth of seeds. And then, so again, I would take a mental note next time for this fourth of cup, maybe it will be 3/4 of this cup or 3/4 of this measuring utensil next time. So then again, I would write that information on this bag, because what you don't want to happen is the next time you try to do it, you forget, and then now you're kind of experimenting all over again. So it's best to just, when you're doing it, write down, okay, I did 0.8 ounces. It looks decent. I watered it, just make a little journal for yourself. And after you do it several times, then you don't have to really take a journal or take a note of any of that stuff. Okay, and please, I don't know how much time I have left, so feel free to give me my time so I can speed it up if I have to. Okay, so at this point, I'm seated. Now I got two options. I can leave it like this and mist it, or I can cover it with soil. I'm going to recommend covering with soil for a couple of reasons. Reason one is that the seeds do need like a dark period, and I'm going to show you another way to give them that dark period by stacking another tray on top of it to make sure that it does have this blackout period, like about 1 to 2 days of blackout period. But covering with soil would make sure that it has a blackout period, and then also it's going to make sure that it also maintains its moisture too. Because now when the seeds are exposed like this, if there's nothing covering it, if I didn't have a tray on top of it, it can easily dry out, and we don't want that. And these seeds were not soaked, so they didn't soak in any water, so they're just there. And if we're not monitoring the trays on a daily basis, the soil can dry out, then your seeds will dry out, and then you kind of wasted some time doing all this. So you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a little bit of soil, and I'm just going to just pour it over. It doesn't have to be super perfect, but just want to kind of cover it. And the And I'm gonna use that piece of cardboard I have to. I'm gonna smush it down so the seeds have good contact with the wet soil. Yeah, now I'm gonna have to use my hands to move everything around. Again, it's not very difficult. It can be time consuming, especially if you're trying to do multiple trays. Like right now, I have about 4 or 5 trays that I've been working on, and just want to make sure you are taking care of a living thing, right? Because the seeds were dead, but now they're alive, and you got to nurture it. Spiritual walk. You can't just set and forget it. You guys remember that? Set and forget it. You don't do that. Okay. So here's my cardboard. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to stack it anyway. But I want to give the soil a nice little push. And then what I'm going to do is the topsoil, I am going to spray a little bit of water on top of it. Again, to just help with that moisture. So where did that spray bottle go? Yeah, if you're doing a bunch of trays and you have these spray bottles, you're going to get a nice little wrist workout. Your forearm's going to be pretty pumped because you got to put some pressure behind squeezing this bottle. Okay, so I think that's what enough. So at this point, what I would normally do is I would stack another tray on top of it. Now, I would normally do 2 to 3 trays at a time. And I'll take a look. Okay, radish would be ready within 7 to 10 days. Peas would be ready within 14 days. So I kind of take a look at when things would be done. So as we're finishing the radish, we can go into the peas. And then once the peas are wrapping up, we can go into sunflowers. And then from there, after sunflowers, I'm kind of getting started into another set of trays. So here, what I would do is I'll just stack another tray, boom, right on top of that. And I would keep it just like that. Okay. So now you set your tray. Every day you're going to check it. You're going to check it for a couple of reasons. One, you're going to lift this thing up and you're going to say, okay, it looks like the seeds are swelling up. Looks like they're starting to sprout, but they're still in the soil. The soil still feels moist. Remember, you're gonna lift it up. Remember from when you first watered it, it feels heavy. So I know there's moisture there. I don't need to mist it. In the beginning stages, when it's still sprouting, this is how you're gonna water it. You're gonna mist it. Okay, and then plus you're gonna lift up this other tray to give it some ventilation too. Okay, so you're gonna lift it up. You're gonna check. You're gonna check at least twice a day. Once in the morning, once in the evening. And if someone's at home, if you're home during the day, you can also check it a third time, like around lunchtime. And you're going to stack it. And then you're going to set it and forget it. Well, not set it and forget it. You're going to put it away off to the side somewhere cool outside of the sun. And again, you just want to make sure that it's in a controlled temperature area. You can, if you don't have a heat mat, which I do use a heat mat, you don't have to use a heat mat. I haven't used a heat mat for many years, but the seeds that you get, you might want to think about, okay, are they cold tolerant seeds? Like radish is cold tolerant, peas are cold tolerant, wheat is cold tolerant, buckwheat is cold tolerant, cabbage, kale, a lot of those seeds are cold tolerant. So they'll germinate in cooler temperatures. When you start getting into things like sunflowers, maybe some of the legumes, there was this other one, but Thai basil. So some of those they require a little bit more heat. marigolds, they require more heat. So it may not do well during the winter time frame. So you might want to think about that too before you buy your seeds. What kind of seeds do you want? At what time during the year are you trying to grow them in? Just so you can take advantage of the environment without having to, grow hot loving plant during the winter time. You don't want to do that because then now you have to buy heat mats and stuff like that, and you're going to spend more time on it than I think you really have to, because this can be really simple. So anyways, I'm going to put this off to the side, and then what's going to happen is you're going to check it every day, like I mentioned, and once they start to sprout, they need a light source. Okay, so light source is pretty simple. You can just use the window. So I'm going to turn this thing around, and I'll show you my setup. Right there, right by that one window, I can have 4 to 5 trays. Some on the bench, some on the chair, and then even on that on the table, I can have some there, and that gets about 4 to 6 hours of sunlight in the late afternoon, and I can just lay that out there, and that'll be perfectly fine. Some of the microgreens might be a little bit leggy, but that's okay.
You muted yourself, Brother Charles.
Yeah, we lost audio, and you have about 8 minutes left. So just to let you know.
Oh, okay. All right. So, yeah, you know what? I accidentally pressed the mute button. So I'm not sure what you missed, but I was basically saying that for light, just right in front of a windowsill is perfectly fine. I can fit about 6 trays between the chairs, the bench, and the table, and I can lay all that out there, and that gets about 4 to 6 hours. No, I would say maybe between 4 to 5 hours of sunlight in the late afternoon, as the sun is going down. This is a south-facing window, so you might want to think about that. But even if it's a window that gets a couple hours of,
You muted yourself again, just now.
all right, sorry about that. I'm trying to hold my laptop. Like I said, you don't have to spend a ton of money on lights. I did invest in some LED shop lights. They're just regular lights. Those were fine for some of the microgreens that doesn't take more than 14 days to grow, like things like radish, broccoli, and things like that. The shop lights would do okay. Otherwise, I do have some grow lights here that I do use, and I'm going to show you just how some of it looks like, so you guys can get an idea of. So put that there. All right, so this right here is wheatgrass, and this is actually I'm sprouting the wheat, the red wheat. They call it red winter wheat, and so I'll actually use this. They're chewy and nutty, and they're really nutritious. So I'll sprout these and eat them separately, and then I also grow the wheatgrass so I can make wheatgrass juice. Each tray is supposed to net between 2 to 4 ounces of wheatgrass or of wheatgrass juice. This right here, so this one, I don't know, no, you can't really tell, I don't think, but this one right here is in soil. And then this one right here is utilizing that grow mat. And I'm trying to see if I can pull it up so y'all can see it. But that's it. Oh, that's it right there. It's on a grow mat. It's on the grow mat, and it's just growing. The wheatgrass is just growing through that. And then, like, I watered this earlier, and it's still a little wet, but overnight this will suck up all the water, and I would have to water it again in the morning. This one's with soil, and see, that one looks really, really dry, and I watered that earlier. Microgreens are very hydrating because they take a lot of water, and Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you froze for a minute, but you're back.
Okay. All right, cool. So this right here is peas. And it, as you can see, it's pretty full on the right hand side here. But then on this side, it's a little, it looks like this is this germinated much later than this side. I don't know why that's the case. It could have been because of the water distribution. What happens is, and also here you can note I didn't cover this with soil. So I let the peas stay on top of the soil. And again, when that happens, um, the humidity is different. And also when I started watering it from the bottom, what happens is if you're not on a level surface, all the water would go one direction. So then all the moisture is on this side, which is what I think is what happened. I would water it and I wouldn't like rotate it, like in 2 hours, I would rotate it this way so the water can come on this side. And so I think that's what happened. It's just growing much slower, but they are all growing. It's just I believe what happened here was the water distribution wasn't right. And that's why I was saying, it's important to just kind of take a look at your microgreens every day, just to see, what what you can do different, or why is this really lush and this side is not, and it must be something. And in this case, I believe it was the water. So this side was much drier than this side. Okay, I think that's it. That's about it. So when you're ready to harvest, you can use a very sharp knife, or you can use just some normal shears. And I would cut it as low to the soil line as possible, and I would cut through that. And I would cut it and eat it right at the same time. But if you can't do that, I would water it like the night before, so that it takes in all that water and all that moisture, and it will stay hydrated. And then the next morning, sometime in the morning, then I would harvest it. If you feel like you needed to rinse it, I would rinse it with a salad spinner, and then you can store it in the salad spinner, or you can store it in like a salad container, like a used salad container that you bought some salad from, and you can actually store all that in the refrigerator. And this will be good for several days. But typically in my household, this stuff doesn't last too long. So I guess that's it. Maybe I'll stop right there, and then we'll go right into Sister Brittany's presentation, and I can take any questions later on during the Q&A.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you so much, Brother Charles.
Praise Yah.
All right. Yeah, I already have some questions, so be jotting your questions down so that you don't forget what they are. And we'll definitely have that Q&A after our next presentation. So let me see if I can share the correct screen here. All right, so keeping kind of within the same vein or theme or topic, we're also going to be hearing some very great information about raw veganism, incorporating that into your diet. And I've asked Sister Brittany to share, who has a raw vegan diet, and you'll hear from her firsthand. But I first want to introduce her to give just we always like to hear some context, get to know the person who's sharing with us. So, a little bit about Sister Brittany. She was born in Atlanta, raised in Augusta, Georgia, and she grew up in a Christian home, unaware of the Most High's set apart ways of living and eating as instructed in Torah. After struggling for years with recurring cold sores and unclear skin, she was led to a holistic, plant-based lifestyle, fully transitioning in January 2020. Through regular fasting and prayer, She believes this helped her hear the Father's voice with clarity to follow his strategic plan for her healing. Matthew 17:21. Over time, she eliminated processed foods, plant-based meats, fox plant-based meats, and other unhealthy fillers that mimic the standard American diet. And in 2024, which was just last year, Yahudah called her to a raw, vegan, whole foods lifestyle, which she continues to practice today. And through this journey, Brittany has gained a new understanding of true health and healing, shifting away from the world standards to the wisdom of our Creator. She believes she has been called to help a generation plagued by disease, who is lacking true knowledge of Yahuwah's provision for healing through the natural foods he created. Grateful to be chosen and set apart for such a time as this, Brittany is passionate about sharing what she has learned and encouraging others in the benefits of raw, living foods for a vibrant, we talked about that earlier, abundant life, health, and well-being. Hallelujah. And I'm going to turn it over to her at this time.
Hallelujah. Shalom, Mishpaka. Thank you for that warm welcome. So, as stated, I am here to talk about raw veganism, or what some refer to as a living foods lifestyle. I like to call it a Genesis 129 living, because since this is a set apart platform, we know that this actually is the original way in which our Creator Yahudah intended for us to eat and live before the fall of our ancient forefathers. And so I'm going to be talking a little bit about that tonight. And so Genesis 1:29 reads, "And Elohim said, See, I have given you every plant that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it is for food." All right, so what is a raw vegan diet? A raw vegan diet is a diet that's composed of mostly or entirely raw and unprocessed foods. A food is considered raw if it has never been heated over 104 to 118 degrees Fahrenheit at the max, refined, pasteurized, treated with pesticides, or otherwise processed in any way. And this is information I researched according to healthline.com. Preparation methods include juicing, blending, dehydrating, soaking, and sprouting. And so as Brother Charles just beautifully demonstrated for us, his microgreens demonstration, this is a picture on the right of a sprouting jar. And so that's one way where you can actually prepare beans, nuts, and seeds as opposed to cooking them. And you can eat them raw in their natural state. And so really quick, I have a short YouTube short by a famous raw vegan by the name of Karen Calabrese. So I just wanted to share this. I think that it has a really great and beneficial information. So we can play this really fast.
I'm 53 years old. I sleep approximately 3.5 hours a night. I haven't been sick in 27 years. I'm a dancer. I dance with girls 12, 16, 18 years old, ballet, advanced ballet classes. I run 5 businesses. And I attribute it all to living foods. My genetic makeup has nothing to do with it. You know, people always go, oh, she's got a great gene pool. No. So for me, the living foods are the reason that I'm alive today. being 53, if I were to go with my genetic makeup, I should be gone by now. I think, once again, I mean, it's a very simple concept. Living beings, living body, living foods. Cooked foods are very addictive, so most of us are used to cooked foods. From birth, they start us, eating the jars of baby food and whatever. Raw, living foods are foods as close to the state which God created us to eat it. He created this machine that we call our bodies, and He created the fuel to feed the machine. So most of the fuel that we use to feed our bodies has nothing to do with what's supposed to go in there. And cooked food, even vegetarian cooked food, uses up the machine very quickly. So raw foods are foods as close to how as God created. Living foods, in my opinion, are foods that generally have been fermented. They have living bacteria in them. So they help the enzymatic action in our bodies. They come alive. They help our bodies come alive. Well, we are living beings. We have living cells. Our cells regenerate every 7 years, our tissue every 3 months. We are alive, so we need living foods to stay alive. It's very simple. Dead foods, you die sooner. Living foods, you live longer. It's very basic.
This easy-to-read book.
Okay, so I wanted to share that clip because I think in a nutshell, she shared a lot of the benefits of eating what the world refers to as a raw vegan lifestyle or living food lifestyle. And so some of the benefits, aside from what she mentioned, include weight loss, improved vitality, increased energy. There's also, from my personal readings and research, as well as several individuals on YouTube, there are several testimonials of people reversing and or completely healing themselves from chronic long-term diseases that have been labeled as incurable, such as cancer, for instance. I even met a individual, I think he was about 60 years old. He told me in Mom's Organic Market when I was out shopping one day, and we just struck up a conversation because he noticed that I was ordering plant-based as well. And so he told me that he had been raw vegan for, I think, over 30 years. And that when he was dating a woman of his past, his former partner, she actually healed herself from breast cancer by going completely raw and doing green juices for a period of several months. And so that's I think that speaks greatly to the power of living foods, as the lady Karen stated. Clear skin, strong immunity, as well as overall health and longevity, reversed aging, and also ease of lifestyle are other benefits that you can benefit from when adopting this lifestyle. And it can be as easy or complex as you want it to be. And so, there's a very, very small portion of the population where they're, raw vegan chefs, and they are, recreating how to do a macaroon or, or a very specific, meal or entree. But then you also have raw vegans that just eat, things in its simplicity, and, just eating an abundance of fruits and vegetables, eating fruit, eating or consuming juices, eating salads, and they keep it simplistic. And so you really can go about it however your lifestyle, whatever suits your lifestyle and preference. All right, so foods to eat on a raw vegan lifestyle include, all fresh fruits, all raw vegetables, raw nuts and seeds, raw grains and legumes, sprouted and or soaked, dried and dehydrated fruits. I personally love dried mango, veggies, nut seed breads, crackers and or pastries, raw nuts and or seed milk, cold pressed, raw nut butters, cold pressed oils, fermented foods such as kimchi or sauerkraut, yogurt, as well as sea vegetables such as nori seaweed and sea moss, as well as sprouts and microgreens. So these are all of the things that you can eat on a raw vegan diet. And so common equipment that is needed or typically used, I should say, when on this particular diet or lifestyle include a blender, a juicer, a food processor, sieve or nut milk bag, spiralizer for making veggie noodles such as zucchini noodles, vegetable pillar, as well as a dehydrator. And so on the right, we see a picture of a Ninja high-speed blender for the, I guess, what you would call like a large batch. And then on the left is a single serve pitcher that has a blade attached that if you're just kind of on the go and are making a personal smoothie, you can do that. And then on the right, you see a food processor. And so I actually have that specific Ninja, Ninja model. And it's really nice, and it's really not. I think it's more of affordable price. Some of the more top of the line brands out there include a Vitamix, if you're looking for a very high efficiency blender, and then also the Nama juicer would be like a top of the line juicer that's very popular out there. All right, so where to shop? So there's several places that you can shop if you don't grow your own food or not growing all of your own food. Definitely recommend wholesale warehouses, whether you're plant-based or raw plant-based eater. Places like Costco and Sam's Club are really great places to shop in bulk, especially for those more pricey items such as nuts and seeds. Grocery stores that are great to shop at include Aldi, Trader Joe's, Sprouts, if you have that in your area, and Whole Foods. In addition to those, we have farmers markets, and so that's going to be probably your second best for fresh produce because it's local and it's fresh. And you can also ask your local farmer, about their farmer practices or their growing practices, and determine whether or not they're growing organic and things of that nature. And then also international markets can be another place that you can find specific foods that may not be in your local grocery stores. I have an international market about 10 minutes up the street from where I live, and that's the only place that I can find seeded grapes right now. The farmers market that I was buying the seeded grapes, they unfortunately shut down, and so that's where I get my seeded grapes from. I also can get baby bananas and the other special bananas, I forget the name of them, but the bananas that would be considered alkaline, and even like the large like coconuts and things like that. So that's where I go when I'm looking for like more alkaline foods. And then lastly, shopping online. And so you can have your food, ordered to you from a place such as Thrive Market or Amazon or True Leaf Market if you're looking for sprouting seeds. All right, so a typical day for a raw vegan, I just put what my day looks like on a typical day. And so typically I'll start my day off with an herbal tea, and that's around like 8 to 9 a.m. because that's when I start work. And then around 10 or 11 a.m. I'm drinking a cold pressed green juice that I've already batched for the work week ahead of time. And then around lunchtime, I usually do a smoothie. I'm very religious with my smoothies because that's where I put like all of my supplements, my vitamin D supplement and my zinc and things like that, my sea moss, for example, along with a raw vegan lunch entree. So for this week, I actually did a stuffed bell pepper with raw mushroom and walnut meat. And you season it to your liking, how you would, whatever it's supposed to be replicating. And then a fruit as a side. And so that's what lunch would look like for my typical day. And then around 3 p.m., if you're a snacker, you can snack on a fruit of choice, or either fresh fruit or dried fruit. And then during dinner time, I usually do either a large dinner size salad, and this is when I'll incorporate some cooked food if I do want some cooked food, but it's always going to be with with a base of raw living foods. So I might do a salad grain bowl, maybe a base of kale with some cooked quinoa and some chickpeas, and then other other toppings of choice, or a more specific raw vegan meal, such as kelp noodle Alfredo, or a zucchini lasagna, for example. And then lastly, if you choose, you can have a dessert to end the day off, like a raw cheesecake or a sorbet, banana and ice cream, or a raw brownie, date and nut brownie. So the options are pretty much up to you, and so that's really what a typical day looks like for at least myself. I'll say. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and segue into my demo. And so this is a sample recipe from my recipe book that I'm currently working on. And this is a hemp seed kelp noodle Alfredo. And so I'm just gonna show you all this here. You guys can see. Okay, this is my dehydrator. And so I already prepped my hemp seed Alfredo sauce. And so I'm gonna open it up. And the reason I put it in here is because I want it warm. And so you can use this instead of a microwave. And then I also have some raw vegan, not sure if y'all can see, but some raw vegan mushrooms that I pre-marinated and seasoned. And then a little bit of a raw vegan crab cake that I also meal prepped ahead of the week. Which is just really made from hearts of palm, which is a vegetable. And so I'm gonna go ahead and pull those out. Just give me one moment. All right. Let's see here. All right, so. So I turned that off this way. So what we're gonna do is I already have a opened bag of kelp noodles here, and I found this at Whole Foods, by the way. So it doesn't need to be refrigerated. When you find it at the store, it's gonna just be on the shelf at room temperature. And so even if you open it, you can just put it in a baggie and reseal it, and it's good to go whenever you want to use it again. But on the back, it actually gives you the directions on how to prepare the noodles. And so it just says to rinse with cold water and separate kelp noodles. Mix with 1 tablespoon of baking soda, juice of 1 lemon, and 1 cup of water in a large bowl. And then add kelp noodles to mixture and massage the noodles until the desired noodle texture is achieved. And then once you've achieved your desired noodle texture, you're gonna rinse the kelp noodles in a sieve such as this. And then you can strain it And then you're gonna add your sauce and whatever toppings that you want, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and take the noodles out here. Let's see, and I'm just gonna, I'll show you all in a second. Hold on. Oh goodness. It has a little bit of like water in it, but anyhow. Okay, so here we go. So you guys can see. Okay, so this is my kelp noodles. This is what they look like, kind of translucent. And this is a sea vegetable. And then I have my baking soda. I don't usually measure out a tablespoon of baking soda. I just kind of eyeball it, to be honest with you. And so I'll just kind of sprinkle it over like that. And then I get my lemon. Let me get my lemon. So I already pre-cut my lemons. And then I just squeeze over the sieve. And I don't know if you guys can hear, but it's already kind of like fizzing up when you add the acid to the baking soda. That's what happens. And that's just a cleansing agent, a cleaning agent for the noodles. So I'm gonna probably just do half of a lemon as opposed to a whole, because I'm not using a lot of noodles. I'm just squeezing the juice out here. There we go. And next, I'm gonna take it over the sink and pour water. Okay. All right, so now that I've got the water in there, now I'm just massaging the noodles here. And so this is you just cleansing the noodles, and you're gonna get you're gonna do this until you achieve your noodle consistency or texture that you want, as the directions stated. All right, so now, yeah, because like out of the bag, they're kind of like stiff, but you want them to be soft and yeah, just slippery. So that's what you want them to feel like. And so I think I've achieved the desired texture. And then now I'm gonna just pour it over my sieve like that. And yeah, I just dumped the noodles into the sieve, and I'm gonna rinse it with water. Okay, and so now they're clean. And they're the texture that I want them. Okay, I'm gonna rinse my bowl out too. Okay. All right, so that's that. And then I just dump the noodles back into the bowl as such. And then since I pre-made my sauce, so if you're doing all of the I guess ingredients to order, all you would need to do is just blend up the ingredients. It's a hemp seed base with some other ingredients that I have listed on the slide, and you just blend it with water. And you can blend it if you want it warm, you can actually blend it until it gets warm, and then you can pour it over your noodles. And so that's one raw vegan trick, that if you want like a warm food, you can just use the blender and let it stay in the blender for maybe like 2 or 3 minutes, and then it's not going to naturally heat up from the friction. And so now I'm dumping the sauce over the noodles here. Okay, so you all can see that. And I'm gonna use a spoon to get the rest of it. And that's that. All right, so let me get a fork. Actually, a fork, right? Okay, so and now I'm just mixing it in the sauce. Okay, and then after that is finished, I add my toppings. And so this week I decided to do just mushrooms as my topping, and I put them on the side there. I don't think I need all of them, so I'm going to put the rest back in the fridge. And then also, I'm actually already ate my dinner, but if I was hungry, I'd probably add the crab cake in there too, or mock crab cake. And so this is what it looks like, if y'all can see. And you just eat it. So Sister June said she wants me to actually demo eating. so yeah, let me.
I was playing with you, but
Oh, okay. Well, I'll take one bite. How about that?
all right.
Let's see.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is live living food eating right here on Yahudah Living.
Yum, yum, yum. So, yeah. And I also I'm not one to follow my recipes to a T all the time. And so I'll improvise, or I might modify, every time I make it. And I just season to taste. And so if you're a real cook, you don't really follow recipes. Once you've gotten the hand, gotten in the knack of doing whatever it is that you're doing. And the baking soda is for cleaning the noodles. But it's with the lemon juice, the fresh lemon juice. Okay, so back to the presentation. I'll take this. Okay. Okay, so tips for long-term success. From my research, this is just one book, the African Holistic Health book by Dr. Layla Africa. This book, as well as the Beauty Detox Solution, both are, one is a nutritionist, the other is, I'm not sure Dr. Layla what his, I guess, certification is in specifically, but from my readings and research, I've gathered that an 80% alkaline and 20% acid forming diet is the most beneficial for disease prevention. So alkaline forming foods would include most fresh fruits and veggies, and sea vegetables, as well as raw fungi such as mushrooms. Acid forming foods are going to be nuts, seeds, beans, or legumes, and foods made from those ingredients. And so basically the way that Yahudah has created us, we have a gut microbiome, and we want to make sure that if we're being conscientious, it's best to have the body at a slightly alkaline state, because that's basically the mode in which the body is in a healing state, and also is not, basically it's really hard to catch sickness or even develop sickness or disease when you're in an alkaline state as opposed to acidic state. And so anything below a 7.0, when your gut pH is dropping below that 7.0 benchmark, that's when you're going to see an influx of disease and sickness in the human body. And so just from my readings, it's recommended to be 80% alkaline, eating an 80% alkaline diet, in the sense of eating foods that create an alkaline pH in the body, and then eating 20% or less foods that are causing the pH in the body to go into an acidic state, or producing an acid pH, I should say. Aside from that, planning and prepping ahead is really crucial for success. I set aside my Sundays for prepping for the work week, and that works for me, because if whatever is laborious, whatever I don't want to do after work, I do it on Sunday. And so if I'm doing a salad, for example, a dinner salad, then I'm gonna pre-make my salad dressing and have that batch and ready for the week. I'm also gonna have some my veggies and fruits already cut up and meal and basically put and stored away. So that way, all I have to do when I come home is I can just dump it, pour the dressing, and I can eat it. And that, I think that's going to help you, to succeed long term. And I also batch juice on Sundays as well for the work week. And so that I also recommend saving and repurposing your pulp from juicing. You can use your pulp to make powders, which you can use a dehydrator to dry out the pulp, and then you can just blend it in a food processor and store it for later use. You can also use pulp to make breads and crackers, as well as pastries, such as cakes and cookies. So that, and then if you do want to eat, and I'm not 100% raw vegan. I just make sure that I stay at 80%. But I might do a raw vegan week if I so choose to. But typically lately, what I've been doing is I'll treat myself to a cooked food or a cooked meal that I like, because I really enjoy. I really enjoy the Ethiopian vegetarian combo, for example. So I'll do that on the weekend, and I just make sure to eat something raw before eating that primarily cooked meal. But if you're actually like judging how much raw in relation to cooked food, I'm still overall at least 80%. And then in addition to that, eating an abundance of seeded and non-GMO fruit is really beneficial, and it's also going to help you to reduce cravings if you have cravings for processed sugars and sweets. If you're eating, the natural sugar, your body is getting what it actually needs, and you're going to be able to overcome those cravings. And then additionally, investing in a high quality high quality equipment. So I have a Aeto juicer. It's not as pricey as the Nama. I think I got mine for maybe around 100 or between 100, maybe 150. But I actually got mine on sale during the Black Friday week, and so you can get high quality equipment if you're a thrift shopper. And so that's what I have, and it has a big feed, and so you can dump like whole fruits and vegetables, or you don't have to cut them up as small, and you can get a good yield of your fruits and veggies. And so I just definitely recommend investing in good quality equipment, because that's going to actually save you time and money in the long run. Educating yourself, so reading reading on evidence-based education practices definitely is really crucial for your long-term success, as well as making a personal log of successful recipes that you enjoy. And then lastly, just gracing yourself and letting the Holy Spirit be your guide, because it's a learning curve if you are making that transition. And lastly, these are some of the books. These are the books that I've read thus far on plant-based eating and just nutrition and healing and health and all of that. And so I definitely recommend the Beauty Detox Solution by Kimberly Snyder. She's a clinical nutritionist, famous for working with celebrities who we don't really follow, but she does have several science-based clinical trials throughout her book, and even testimonials of people reversing chronic illnesses from heart disease, cancer, diabetes, just by going plant-based, and also incorporating some of her strategies, if you will. The Education Over Medication by Dr. Bobby J. Price is a really good one. The African Holistic Health by Dr. Layla O. Africa that I mentioned earlier, and also Biblical Principles that Eradicate Obesity and All Disease by the Minister of Wellness. And these are my references. So that concludes my presentation.
Woohoo! Awesome. Praise Yah.
It was wonderful.
Yes.
Praise Yah.
Great information tonight. Oh, did my mic go out or can y'all hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay, good. I've been having so many issues with my microphone. Praise Yah. So at this time, we are preparing to transition into our Q&A. And wow, we're doing good on time. We have one quick announcement about a watch party that we want to invite everyone to who is interested. And then we'll bring forward Brother Charles and Sister Brittany and open the floor to, you can raise your hand or type your question in the Zoom chat or the YouTube chat, and we'll voice those for you. Yeah. So, and I've asked Sister Catriel to share this announcement with us.
Thank you, Sister June. So as Sister June said, there's an upcoming watch party. Join us on Wednesday, March 19th for a watch party at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will gather to view the documentary Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, and then discuss it afterwards for some fun fellowship. If you guys haven't seen it, you're going to want to see it. You're going to want to tune in. You're going to want to join us. This is an excellent documentary. We have a little trailer here for you. Sister June, we'll roll the clip.
Normally I'd eat 2 of those, not 2 slices, 2 whole pieces. I better get out of here. I'm certainly no picture of health. I look like I've swallowed a sheep.
All right, Joe, come on over and step on the scale over here.
Fat. Here it is here, look. I mean, it's sitting here. Sick. I've got a thing called chronic urticaria. I've been taking pills night and day. Looking at these bottles here, it doesn't look good, does it? And nearly dead. I might have already had a heart attack and died. G'day. My name's Joe Cross. I'm the sort of bloke who likes to tackle my demons head on.
Oh, y'all from Australia?
I am from Australia.
You got the Russell Crowe thing happening.
The accent?
Yeah, the accent of Russell Crowe.
Yeah, I'm not as good an actor as him.
I hear you.
I came to America to save myself. I'm on a juice fast.
A what?
All I'm going to do is drink juice, green juice, for 60 days.
That's crazy.
What's the issue?
It's called urticarius vasculitis.
Yeah, urticaria, that's what I've got. Well, that's extraordinary, because you're about one of the only first people in the world I've ever met who's got the same thing that I've got. What's the prognosis?
Diabetes, numerous medications, heart attack, sudden death because of your weight.
He was on the border of suicide. I've taken so many pills. I don't want any of my kids to see me like this. I'm not angry. I'm just in pain.
I offered him help. I've got to get over there and see what I can do.
Hiya, mate.
This is life or death for you right now, in my view. Good luck, mate. As I travelled across the country, you ever fasted?
Only when I ain't got no money to eat, man.
What I gained was far more than what I lost.
You're a new person.
Oh, I'm trying, mate.
This really ain't too bad.
That's okay.
And I learned that the best way to change the world
I gotta watch that and drink this.
is to change yourself.
Today I just weighed myself and I'm down 6 bowling balls, ladies and gentlemen.
And it's nothing short of a miracle.
My medication.
We would definitely be able to lower it, if not get rid of it completely.
Yeah.
He has inspired so many people.
Something I've always wanted to do is to help people.
It's the best feeling ever. Reboot your life. The pelvis, hip bone, like here. I was like, I haven't felt that for 10 years. Fat, sick, and nearly dead.
Awesome. And if you recall, Jessica, who gave her juicing presentation in our last webinar, this was the documentary that catalyzed part of her journey. And so, what we're going to do once a month going forward is we're going to pick a day to have monthly watch parties where we, just we've done some in the past, but these ones we're going to invite anybody who would like to join us, and we'll watch a documentary and just have some fun discussion and fellowship after. So and I hear there's a part 2 out, and I've seen this documentary before, and there's some fascinating testimonials of people who were taking like 20 jars of pills and started simply juicing and pretty much got rid of that. So it's not a set apart film produced by set apart people, but nonetheless it still has good information, and we can filter that out and discuss accordingly. So, and I've asked Brother Charles to email me, and he said he would. He has a lot of great ideas for documentaries we can watch as well. So we're opening up the Q&A at this time. Let me and Brittany is still demonstrating her live eating, I see. Her live living foods. So what's going to be, who's going to ask a question first? Oh, while we're waiting on that, here, I'll show my microgreens. Let me see if I can spot. Okay. So this is the second time I've done it, and I ate a little bit already. And to be honest with you, I can't remember what they even are. I was just so excited to start, and I have this. I've done this one before as well, and these just started sprouting. I can't remember what these are. You guys probably recognize what they are, but so one of my questions is, so the ones that I harvested, I took off the top and I just took some out and put it on top of my soup that I was having and ate it like that. What are some, like, how do you, like, if you're growing it all the time year round, like, are you just eating it like by itself, or do you incorporate it in foods? Like, what are some ideas on how to consume these?
I know for me, so I also have several jars of sprouts also, and so for the last couple of days, my wife makes homemade tortillas, and we'll put microgreens in the tortilla, make like a soft taco. So we'll put it in that. My wife made some stir fry earlier today, and we had some broccoli sprouts, and we ate it with broccoli sprouts. So just like Sister Brittany was mentioning, even if you're eating cooked food, just have something raw with it. And somehow you can incorporate it with a savory meal, whether you're eating it on its own, you're eating it as part of a salad. Even like something that we do in our house is like we kind of do like a sushi thing where we just have some seaweed, some rice, and then some vegetables or something, or even the microgreens, and kind of use the seaweed to kind of pick up all that stuff and eat it. So you can be pretty creative with it. You can incorporate it into a lot of things. If you're eating sandwiches, like little soft tacos or burritos, anything that you're folding something, you can just put it in there, kind of hide it, and you can incorporate microgreens that way. And sprouts too.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try the tacos and the sandwich topper. So you said they're green. Are they? Are they premature? Are they still maturing?
No, they look good. I mean, that's a definitely prime time to eat them when they're green like that. Otherwise, from there, it's I don't know if you noticed it, but the jar starts getting a little bit warm. I don't know if you noticed that the jar is warm. they're starting to grow, they're starting to produce heat because there's just a lot of photosynthesis. There's a lot of stuff going on in that jar. So what you might want to do is like with what I do, I'll have a big jar and then I'll sprout all of it in one big jar. And then as it's, because maybe you'll fill it up half the way or 3/4 of the way, but as they begin to grow, it fills up the jar. So then the more it's filled up, the less airflow, less ventilation. So again, you're more susceptible to like slimy stuff and mold and stuff. So then I'll start to so from a big jar, I will separate it into smaller jars and then keep it that way. And then once they're at a good place like that, I would store them in a refrigerator. And I'll keep some out, but I'll have some in the refrigerator too. So I can eat them fresh from the jar, or I can go to the refrigerator and have something there. So just constantly having something out. But yeah, you don't want that jar to be filled with, it's like it's totally packed and there's no airflow. So that's something to consider too.
All right, that leads me to two other quick questions. So when I leave it out, like this, like how quickly does it go bad? And can you literally grow them in the refrigerator?
Oh, so I as long as you're rinsing them every day, because when you rinse them, you get rid of just some of the stale water that's there and some of the coating from the seed. Because when you soak the seeds, it shaves off some of that seed coating, and the seed will start to soak in the water. And then when you drain it out, you'll see a little bit of residue, like different residue. So rinsing it gets rid of all that stuff, and then also it adds fresh air back into the jar. So they could last there for a while. It's just, I always sniff mine, but I try to rinse mine 3 times a day. I work from home, so I actually rinse mine a little bit more, but 2 to 3 times a day, it's a good amount of time. It's a good amount to be able to rinse them. But if you can rinse them more, definitely rinse them more. But once they start getting really full like that, and the leaves start sprouting and they're getting really green like that, eventually they're going to need outside nutrition, because after about 10 days, all the nutrients from the seed is used up in the actual plant itself. So then now if you eat anything past 10 days, then you're not really getting a lot of nutrition out of it. You're eating fiber, but not a lot of minerals and nutrients, because now the plant has used it all up, and it needs soil, or it needs some type of nutrients to be able to have some actual some nutritional value in the plant itself.
Gotcha. All right. Any other questions? I did see some in the chat box here. Don't be shy to raise your hand and voice, or if people want to help, raise your hand and help voice some of the questions you see in the chat. I had one about Miracle Grow. So, and I haven't did a deep study into this company, but I always had like an aversion with that brand. Like I know they have like a organic options, but I thought that they infuse like chemicals and things like that into the soil. Like even Roundup, somebody said one time.
Okay, if they use Roundup, I definitely wouldn't use them. But I do know, depending on the type of soil you get, they do have synthetic fertilizer, which again, I'm averse to that too. I don't use that in my personal garden. But with the microgreens, the seeds they really don't need fertilizer, or they really don't need any outside nutrients if it's if it's before 10 days, because all the nutrients are actually in the seed itself. And when you start exposing it to sunlight, it goes through photosynthesis and it starts producing more nutrients and things like that. But so they don't really need fertilizer. The only drawback is how much do you want to spend on your medium. So I've been experimenting with soilless. So I do use a if I go soilless and if it's anything over 10 days, I do mix in some nutrients like ocean nutrients. I have a concentrated bottle of ocean nutrients, and I'll mix that water in the water so that after 10 days the seeds has nutrients. So then whenever you're eating the microgreens, you have that nutritional value there because it had the nutrition there. Yeah, so it depends on how much you want to spend too. So for me, like I said, I don't want to spend too much. You can go into other soilless mixes like coconut core. There's this coconut husk stuff you can get. They got hemp. And again, it gets a lot pricier when you start going that route. You can get organic potting mix, but again, you're gonna pay more for that. So I guess you just have to weigh it out. But it does have Roundup in it, which I don't think it does. I definitely wouldn't use it if it did have that in there. Yeah, I don't believe in Roundup.
Gotcha. I'll have to look into that. And a quick question for Sister Brittany. If you are in a situation where you have to go out to a restaurant, what are some tips that you do to, stay on course with your diet?
So I I am quick to just order a salad. I ask them like what their like I'll one, I look at the menu before going out, and I also will ask, friends and family, if we could go to a place that's vegan friendly or has vegan options. I'll put it that way. And but worst case scenario, I went to, what was it, California Dreaming with my parents, and it was actually a place that I recommended. But we actually had leftover food that I was intending to eat at home anyway. So I wasn't really planning to eat a lot at the restaurant, but it's not a vegan friendly restaurant, let alone raw friendly. But what I did was I basically just ordered a salad, and then I modified what I didn't want out of it. And then the main thing with I would say even just plant-based eating is the dressings and hidden ingredients. And so a lot of salad dressings might have egg or milk in it. And so you do have to kind of ask hey, do you have any vegan salad dressings? And then even spell it out for the waiter, because they might not know what vegan means. And so I would just say do you have any salad dressings that don't have any milk or any animal products? And if not, then I'll just have them bring me olive oil and lemon and salt and pepper, and I just kind of fast. So that's what I do. But that's for those restaurants that are not vegan friendly. But that hasn't really been a common experience of mine. That was one out of not, yeah. So most restaurants, they do have some vegan options, because most restaurants have fruits and vegetables, and also offer at least a salad, if not a vegan meal, such as a vegan vegan burger or something that's more specific. So that's my recommendation. And also you can also pre-eat, eat before you go out.
That's an idea too, yeah. Or do you, I guess you could say hold the meat if there's certain dish that has non-vegan things in it, see if they'll do it special for you maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes the chefs, they will surprise you. This hasn't been my personal experience, but from other vegans that I've watched and listened to, they say that oftentimes chefs are kind of excited to make like a special dish that's like not on the menu. So it kind of depends on who you're working with, because it kind of gives them like an opportunity to do something that is out of the norm and spontaneous.
All right, thank you. Okay, we have some hands. Woohoo! All right, Sister Jessica.
All right, I have a few that kind of go together for Brother Charles. In regards to your hydroponic trays that you have,
Yeah.
I was wondering if you've ever tried like putting like a paper towel over it for smaller seeds so they don't fall through, but the paper towel as it gets wet, the roots should be able to push through maybe.
Yeah, actually, so like I said earlier, you can grow microgreens on almost anything, and you can actually grow it on paper towels. As long as the paper towels are unbleached, you can probably get that at Whole Foods or Trader Joe's. Get unbleached paper towels. Otherwise, it'll soak up whatever chemicals are in the paper towel. But yeah, you can do that. I didn't consider doing the paper towel. The thing is with paper towels too is they can dry pretty quickly once you wet them, and so you just have to be careful. You just have to be mindful of that, because again, if the paper towel dries, then your roots are going to dry and your seeds are going to dry, and then then you got to start over again. So just be careful of that, especially if you. And the one thing I didn't show you guys was I do have a fan. So I have a fan here that will run, and because I don't have a ceiling fan in this room, but I'll have a fan, and that fan helps with ventilation and moving air around. Otherwise, with all this stuff close together, the humidity and the heat that it's all producing, it can just be an environment for mold growth and stuff like that. But paper towels, you can do it. You can definitely do it with paper towels. I've seen that before, so that's a possibility, and you can definitely try it out.
And then oh, sorry, someone else talking. I was gonna say, along that same line, I was gonna ask, the silicone mats that you use, are they hard to like clean between uses? Because I see how those roots are all tangled under there.
No, actually, they're not. So you have the silicone ones, and then you also have the metal ones. And actually, I just use a wooden spatula, and I just kind of just scrape it, and yeah, it comes out. It might take a couple minutes, but I'll just put it in the tray, so it's like in the water, and I'll kind of scrape it all out, and eventually it goes out, and I just kind of scoop all the roots, and I'll just move it off to the side, and after a couple minutes it goes away. So it's pretty easy. And the reason why I chose the silicone over the metal mesh is because they're more flexible. I can move stuff like that. And the metal ones, I was told, like when I was doing research, they can have sharp edges, so you can cut yourself on them. So I prefer not to do that. So I use the silicone ones.
Yeah. All right. And then one last one that really goes with that. Then I'll save my other questions. When you grow on those mats, do you eat the roots too, or do you still trim them?
Yeah. So for sprouts, you just eat everything. But for the microgreen, it's trimmed, because then because if you're doing it in soil, then you don't want to eat the soil unless you rinse it and all that stuff. But again, that's a lot of work. Am I frozen?
No, I hear you.
Okay, I think I froze. Okay, so I said if it's grown in soil, you would have to wash it really well and stuff like that. But no, for the microgreens, I normally just cut it, and I'll just eat the tops. Now, if you do it hydroponically, yeah, you can definitely do that. But and again, it just depends. Like if you do peas and it's been 14 to 16 days, the roots can be kind of hard and not fun to eat. So, and then plus the seed itself may not be fun to eat either. So I'll just cut it. But if it's a sprout and it's very early, yeah, easy. Just put the whole roots with stem and everything into your sandwich or your salad, and you can eat it all. But at the microgreen, I normally just closest to the soil level, and then eat everything else above that.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead. Ray and Ashley?
Yeah.
Shalom, Ray and Ashley. Do you have a question?
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I have a question for each. And if it's okay, I'll start with Sister Brittany. What type of dehydrator do you use?
Let me look it up right now. Hold on.
Okay. And then while you're looking it up, so is steaming the vegetables still considered raw if it's like a light steam?
No, but steaming is the best way to cook your vegetables because it retains. I was just reading this last night. It retains the. I think that it retains like some of the enzymes, so they're not totally destroyed with steaming.
Perfect. That's cool.
Yeah. Let me look it up. So dehydrator. Which one do I have? Because I bought it off of Amazon, and it's a 6 tray.
And how do you like it?
I love it. And it's enough for me. It's just me in my household, so yeah, if you don't have that many people, mine is the Crown. It's called Crown Full. Yeah, Crown
like that.
Full dehydrator, and I can put it in the chat actually since I just.
Awesome. I would appreciate that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And then Brother Charles, which microgreen is the favorite for your kids?
I think they like which one? Oh, broccoli and sunflowers. Sunflowers a little bit harder to grow and takes longer. But broccoli is good. They like broccoli either in the sprouting form or in this microgreen form. So broccoli is good. I grow a lot of radish because it's quick, but it's kind of spicy. I had that in the chat. It gets pretty spicy. But as far as favorite is concerned, all my kids will eat the broccoli ones. Like I grow. I mean, I do a lot of broccoli sprouts.
So you do radish, broccoli, sunflower, sprouts.
Yeah, I do peas. I have clover, alfalfa, wheatgrass. And for wheatgrass, I juice those, and then for the sprouts, they're nice and nutty and chewy, and so we like to put that in like the little tacos or whatever, or anything where you want something chewy in it.
And then question, is buckwheat gluten-free or is that not an ancient grain?
Okay, now maybe that's more along the lines of Brittany's expertise, but I want to say most of your vegetables are going to be gluten free. I think maybe some of your grains may not be gluten free.
Okay, because you're eating the sprout from it, correct? So you're not like actually like cooking with it, you're juicing with it.
Oh, okay, so you're talking about the wheatgrass?
Yes.
I thought you said something about broccoli.
No, buckwheat.
Oh, buckwheat. Oh,
yes, sir.
Okay, so yeah, I'm actually growing buckwheat right now. I don't know, but I think as a microgreen, I don't think buckwheat. I think buckwheat is gluten free, but then yeah, you know what? I guess that's a good. Oh, that's my wife. Okay, that's my wife.
Hey, Sister Francis.
Hello, shalom. Buckwheat is not in the same family as wheat.
Okay, perfect.
So I don't think they're even in the same category.
Would it be considered an ancient grain?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if it's exactly an ancient grain, but yeah, there's.
Okay, so according to Google AI, it says yes, buckwheat is considered an ancient grain. Buckwheat has been cultivated for over 6,000 years, originating in the Yunnan province of China. So it says it is, but also it said that buckwheat is not wheat and not gluten. So
awesome. I appreciate y'all's time. Thank y'all for y'all's presentation. It was great.
Yeah, praise y'all.
Yeah.
Praise y'all.
I saw some questions about the baking soda that I was gonna answer for you all. I think the first person that asked was Deanna. Are there certain considerations for clean baking soda product brand? I I don't personally. I just get my baking soda from Trader Joe's, and it's 99 cents, so really cheap. And then, was the baking soda rinsed off, or is it part of the recipe? Yes, it was rinsed off. Yeah, on the back of the kelp noodles, the directions are just telling you how you properly clean the noodles for preparation. And so it calls for 1 tablespoon of baking soda, and then the juice of 1 lemon. And then you, just put that into the noodles, pour the water, and then massage it. And then after you've massaged it to the desired texture, then you're going to rinse off the cleaning agents, which includes the baking soda. And I think those are the only 2 I missed. Okay. And as Jessica said, I don't think any of these authors are believers. So definitely, like, even though I do recommend the book, these books, they have a plethora of really good information, knowledge, but definitely chew the meat and spit out the bones, as Jessica said. But yeah, I mean, that's with anything. Compare it to, the wisdom of Scripture. So I agree with that statement. And baking soda, as Sister June, not baking powder for the kelp noodles.
All right. Yeah, we a lot of us use the baking soda, a little blech, a little bit of baking soda with the vinegar when we wash our produce. Is that what you use too? Because you're eating raw vegan, so you're probably washing a lot of produce.
Yes. I usually, like for my fruits and vegetables, I'll soak them in baking soda and apple cider vinegar for like 15 minutes before rinsing them off and putting them in the fridge.
Oh, okay, that might give them a little flavor too. I use the regular distilled vinegar. Brother Charles, did you have a comment to add?
Oh, no, I didn't.
No, no. Okay. I saw that. Like you might have had something. All right, Sister Jessica.
Yeah, saving my other questions. I don't want to hog up all the time at the beginning. I was going to ask Brother Charles, just like for starting out, if you could only get 1 seed to start out with, the most cost-effective and easiest per yield, what would you pick? If you could just pick 1 seed.
If I can just pick 1 seed, I'd probably say I probably would do broccoli. Broccoli is pretty nutritious. They're cold weather seeds, so they're easy to grow during the winter time. The heat doesn't really. I mean, the winter doesn't affect it much. And the taste is great. Now if taste wasn't a matter, if taste wasn't really a preference, it was more just something easy and quick. I would say radish. And you got different types of radish. You have daikon radish, which is more on like the green side, and then you have the different purple radishes, which just aesthetically just looks different. And yeah, so if taste is not an issue, I would say radish. The seeds are bigger, so if you're trying to do it hydroponically, a larger mesh wouldn't be an issue. Or the mesh wouldn't be an issue because the radish seeds are typically big enough that it won't fall through any mesh. And they're very quick, literally within 5 to 7 days, you can get a pretty good harvest. Now, if you're adverse to spicy type of foods, then I would say broccoli would be pretty easy, because there's a lot of broccoli. I mean, there's other stuff too, like kale and cabbage and alfalfa and clover and stuff like that. But I think broccoli is pretty popular, and I think price wise, broccoli is pretty economical. Yeah, between broccoli and radish, because a radish plant and a broccoli plant, they produce tons of seeds. So economically, I think that the price point is pretty good.
Praise, yeah. I love to say alfalfa for some reason. I'm not sure why. I
Alfalfa's
like
good.
that word. It reminds me of Who's some show? The Little Rascals.
Little Rascals.
All right. Are there any questions we haven't voiced from either the YouTube chat or the Zoom chat? Because if not, we're going to be wrapping it up at 9:45. We're getting closer to our goal, ladies and gentlemen, because we're trying to do it. Praise Yah. Well, I have found this to be, let me turn my camera on. I have found this to be extraordinarily informative, and I like when we gather and talk about these things because it reminds me of things I might already know or re-inspires me to do better. Like with the juicing, like I know better, and these things help me to do better, put it into practice. Is that another question in the chat or just? Oh, okay. It already got answered. Praise Yah. All right. Well, if there is no more questions, we will close up, and and if you have questions after today, you can put them in the comments of the YouTube video, and we'll do our best to answer. And if we don't know, we'll ask our guests to see what answer they would have for you. So I can't remember. Oh, who did I ask you, Sis Catriel, to close us in prayer? I think so.
Yes, ma'am, you did.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Abba, yeah, we just want to say thank you, Father. We thank you. We thank you first and foremost for just being who you are. We thank you secondly because you've called us into this walk, and we want to thank you thirdly because you're continually teaching us how to choose life. We thank you, Father, for all this information that was given today, and the little blurb the Sister Brittany echoed. I believe even Brother Charles had mentioned it on the last one, where if you eat life, then you live longer, and that's our goal. You told us in your word to choose life. And so we thank you for how you're showing us how to do that in every aspect and in every area of our life. We ask you that you would Baruch the panelists, Father, and just give them a continued knowledge, education, wisdom, discernment to teach and to learn and to grow and to continue to share the things that they find with your community. And Father, we just thank you because you're teaching us how to not only live life, but live it more abundantly. We ask you that you would be with us, that you would continue to cause our hearts and our minds to retain the information, to reflect on it, and to continually seek you and truly seek you in all of our ways, including how to keep our bodies in the optimum shape. It's by your most Kadosh name we pray, Father, through Yahushua HaMashiach. Hallelujah, Father, Akan.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Amen.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you for your questions. Keep them coming even after today. And please like and subscribe if you're watching online and haven't already. And we're going to close out with this song. I found it online. It seemed fitting. It just says, "Thank you, Abba Yahuwah." And truly, we thank him for life. And we thank him for giving us what we need to live it abundantly with all these things we discussed today. So shalom and good evening, everyone.